4 and 3632. I'll have them,
I have
if you don't have a copy,
3632.
just remember that
There was
motion is
like
a
a
whole.
lot
We
in
got
that
it
packet,
here.
clearly,
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
so I
If you
didn't
hear
want to.
dead space, jump in.
Scott,
Thank you, Councilmember.
3654.
you bet.
That's what you guys were.
54.
So-
I always print them out.
Well, I would when I was still working.
That's because I have my
Yeah.
cheat sheet.
I have to use my own paper.
I had that.
Oh,
And
no.
my own ink, it's like,
When it's
All
this
right.
big,
It is
I do it to
6
the
o'clock.
company
Let's go ahead and call to order this May 28th City Council Business Meeting. Will you join me in a pledge of allegiance, please?
I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
I have them all.
okay.
Could I get a roll call, please?
Westwood,
Here.
Conley,
Yes.
Daniel. Here. Steve, Miller,
Here.
Ronnie. Here. Reuben. Here.
I will entertain a motion to adopt the agenda as presented.
I move to adopt the agenda as presented.
I'll second.
I have a motion by Councilmember Conley and a second by Councilmember Daniels. Is there any discussion or comment that anybody would like on the agenda? Hearing none, let's get a quick roll call vote.
Conley,
Yes.
Daniel.
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
Ronnie. Yes. Reuben.
Yes.
All right, thank you. For mayor's report, I think I'll wait and talk about budget stuff when we get to the council meeting and have discussions there. I will share that, the, department heads have all been provided with 3 copies of the budget that basically include 3 separate calculations going into salary. One of them is a 3% COLA, one of them is a 4% COLA, which is the version that is represented in the packet and shared with the public. There was another version that was presented with a 4% COLA plus an additional $1. That is kind of tied to union negotiations and the conversations and a supposition that we might be out of line with our wages. That we're still collecting data on that. My inclination is that the stuff we have identified so far tells us that that part probably doesn't hold much merit, which is a good thing because we do also have to have a balanced budget. And it'd be nice if we can do that without staff cuts. So, anyway, that's kind of all on the budget from there. We will talk a little bit about the airport later, so I will wait and talk, on that more. We have our cleanup day in Red Lodge, so this is going to be Friday the 31st and June 31st. I know this is really small, but if you see these flyers around town, they have the times that they'll start at 8 o'clock each day until full. What it does not say is that will be at the recycling center. There are some things that they will not take. Appliances containing freon, hazardous materials, paint, fuels, oils, batteries, motorized items like lawnmowers must have all the fluid drain if you're gonna take those, and they won't take tires, and there's a limit of 1 pickup load per city. And when they are full, they're gonna load up and go home, and you'll have to catch them the next day. So Friday, the 31st, and then Saturday, the 1st. Did I hear a comment?
There's the 31st in June?
May 31st and
Oh.
June 1st.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, May 31st and June 1st. So this Friday and June, thank you for keeping me straight. All right, so you will see those flyers around town, and that's about that information there.
How do they actually enforce it? The 1 pickup load per city resident?
For city residents.
I will defer to our department head director to advise them that they should be validating IDs that folks do in fact live in the city.
Okay.
But I doubt there will be any public floggings, but hopefully that's how it'll be utilized.
Okay. Because it is part of our contract with Republic Services that the city pays for.
That is a true statement.
Okay.
Sometimes we get some pushback on that,
From the county.
you know, from county residents wanting to do it, so.
All right. I will share that we have a planning board position open. That posting will go in, Thursday's posting and initially run for, a cycle. If necessary, we will extend it beyond that. Lonnie, can you tell me the dates that has us, hopefully on the agenda to fill?
Yes, so any letters of interest are due on June sixth, or by the end of the day on June sixth, and then it'll be on the council agenda on June 11th.
For June 11th. So the posting runs according to that. If we do not get responses, this position does need to be a city resident.
And is this a mayor's pick or a council?
This is a mayor's pick.
Okay.
So with the council's selection has already been made,
Okay,
in a previous.
I thought the council, it
So the-
doesn't go back and forth.
No,
does it?
there's a council that picks from their own ranks, and then there's a position that is, selected by the council, which was the reappointment of, Sue Foisey.
that was
Right.
yours.
Oh, that was mine, and then you guys reappointed Al?
And then we got Pete Curtelli. You reappointed Alan Sue Foisey, and then we got Pete Curtelli.
If it is Pete Critelli, then this will be a
City
council appointment to keep our numbers straight.
That's what I was wondering.
Okay. I will validate that before the next meeting.
Are you going to contact the other people who did apply? The other person?
The other individual, I will make sure that they are aware.
Okay.
The rest is budget stuff that's there. Let me look at my ongoing we have, some very positive developments. I have a meeting tomorrow on the Rocky Fork property. Hopefully, we will be moving forth very quickly with that. I'd like to see a closing date within the month. Part of that is because we have identified some additional state money that can be used in the process as well. So again, no city dollars will be going to that at all. We should hopefully have the signs out on Broadway within this week. We did get them up in front of the Boys and Girls Club last week, but they were having some issues chasing down signs. So that is high on their agenda. Hopefully you'll see those go out on Broadway this week. And also in those conversations are signage and stuff for 4th of July. So just kind of some things on the ongoing. Anything else that I can respond to or prepare for?
We heard that, yes, the police have some of those slow down crossing signs, but also Public Works might have some.
And those two have been put in touch. We've had those conversations of all the places people think they saw signs, and if you see them suddenly showing up in the road, you'll know we found them.
Okay.
Do you have any updates you want to provide on that, by the way?
I didn't get a chance to look today.
Chief Schrock was, we gave him the locations to go check out, and so. All right, any other requests from the mayor, from council? All right. At this time, we will open up for public comment. This is for anything, what I'm doing is pulling up my lovely little timer. This is, I wish you could see it because it has a cute little chicken, so it's non-stressful. It's a kid's timer. But if you would like to comment on anything on the agenda, now would be the time to do so. Please step up to the podium, and then we'll also check online. And please note that there's another public comment period at the end of the meeting, at which point you can comment on anything in the city's purview, not on the agenda. We'll go ahead and open public comment for any items on the agenda at this time. Public comment is open. If you'd like to comment, step up and be respectful, state your name, where you reside, and then direct your comments to me. Everybody else will listen in. Going once? All right, going to, please come up. And can you show the participants online so that I can?
I can give them the pop-up. And then which one it is.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
My name is Renee Tafoya, and I own a home here in Red Lodge. And I wanted to express my concern about the proposed increase in stormwater charge with your capital improvement charge. I know $10 a year isn't all that much, but it seems like the cost of owning a home in Red Lodge is getting incrementally higher and higher and more difficult and more difficult. So, city water and sewer have gone up, power bills have gone up. Now we're facing a proposed increase to our property taxes for the stormwater improvement. I just want to lodge a protest.
All right, thank you, Renee. Anyone else within the room?
My name is Teresa Tisleya, and I am also concerned about the cost, and I don't know if, if there could be more grants written, if the federal government with the Biden restructuring, improvement, money that was granted for the country. I mean, if there's more that can be searched to help pay for this. I know when the storm folks were coming in and putting in the storm systems, I know there was kind of a blank check and there wasn't really a whole lot of, they didn't know how much it was going to be when it was done. And now it's all coming back to us homeowners. So I'm also concerned and am protesting and would like to find other ways to pay for this other than with, property owners. In the state of Montana, we carry the state, and it's just getting hard. Red Lodge is getting really expensive. A lot of people are having to move out because they can't afford to stay here. Now we're becoming the playground for the wealthy with second and third homes and people on budgets and that income for the elderly is just getting too much. So that's my complaint.
Thank you, Teresa. Any other comments from within the room?
I'll do it.
Thanks, sir.
Lee Hauge, also a resident.
I'm sorry, Lee?
Lee Hauge,
Thank you.
H-A-U-G-E, also a resident of Red Lodge, and I'm here for the same reason. I own 3 lots in town, and I'm going to see with this proposal, this capital improvement of stormwater charges, my rates would go from $100 and some a month to right at $500. It looks like the way I see it, and that's a big concern for me. 307% increase is a lot to bite off, and that's just this capital improvement for stormwater runoff. It doesn't include any of my other taxes that I already pay for the city. I'm not against paying taxes. As a matter of fact, I know we have to pay taxes. I know there are increases, but 307%, that's a lot to bite off. And I am retired now, so that factors in. And we have other increases that are coming our way too that I usually justify and eat, take what it's worth, but this one seems to be pretty harsh. So that's, I guess, my 2 bits and my concern.
All right, thank you, Lee.
Thank you for listening to me.
Anyone else in the room first? Then we'll come to those online. Going twice in the room? All right, let me switch to online. If you're online and would like to speak for public comment, if you would please either turn on your camera if that's an option, or if that's not an option, at least unmute and we'll see, and I'll call by the names that I have. Going twice. 3 times. We'll go ahead and close the public comment. The comments have been heard and noted, and hopefully we'll be able to address some of those comments and concerns with staff as we move through the agenda. Which brings us to, I will entertain a motion for Resolution 3653.
I will make a motion to approve Resolution 3653, resolution of the City of Red Lodge, Montana to increase the stormwater charge by establishing a capital improvements charge For the stormwater system.
I have a motion.
I second.
All right, I have a motion from Councilmember Tupin, a second from Councilmember Conley. Is there any discussion at the table, or would council prefer that we open this to Public Works?
Oh, there's a public hearing on this.
Oh, I'm sorry, this is a public hearing.
Mm-hmm.
So let me go ahead and open a public hearing. I probably should have been smart and said, if you'd like to talk about this specifically. But guess what? Today you get a two for it if you'd like. So I'm gonna go ahead and open a public hearing on, and actually, I have the option of doing the public hearing after discussion. So
However you want to.
let's go ahead and do that and have some discussion. I think that would be better suited for the format. So, council, would you like to discuss at the table first, or would you like to have our Public Works Director speak first? What is the council's pleasure?
Hear from Mike.
Yeah, that's Mike.
Thanks, sir.
Well, I'm just gonna address the grant, question first. Last year, when we did phase one of stormwater, that was mostly entirely paid with grants.
ARPA money.
Yeah, we get, Red Lodge received one pot of ARPA money, like all the communities did. And then, because they had a project kind of works, they got another pot of money. That pot of money was actually supposed to be for this phase, but instead, they wanted us to put it all together and get it spent. So, rather than borrow money last year to do it, they used all the grant money. That's why there's no grant money for this phase. We got it last year, and there were $500,000 each, is that correct?
Yeah, they were
Yeah.
great.
So, in regards to the validity of the project and justification of the cost, right now, we are treating a lot of water at the sewer plants that we don't need to treat. It decreases our capacity, and we're growing a lot, and increasing capacity is much more expensive than taking the groundwater out, and the stormwater out, and the groundwater. And the way these projects are, if we do less, it's gonna cost more than 2 years from now. There's projects that have gone up 35% in 3 years in what they cost. So putting it off is just gonna cause taxes to go up more down the road. We got a really good contractor back this year. They came in under the engineer's bid for all 3 phases, so we're getting a lot of bang for our buck, and they're a good contractor. They work well in Red Lodge. Putting off part of the project puts us in jeopardy of getting a low bidder who's not a good contractor, and that ends up costing more money. So it's a tough pill to swallow, but it's a good pill for Red Lodge to get this fixed. And this will be phase 1, 2, and 3. There's still some areas in the higher reaches, but this will address the majority of the stormwater. So look at it as investing in our capacity for the future. We don't have to build a new plant, which costs $20 million now. Any questions?
So with the cost of this, so once it's, the citizens of Red Lodge pay for this, basically, and once it's paid for, then is there a relief in the cost? I mean, or like with the water, water's $103 a month
Once
now.
the bond is paid
Yeah,
off, then that
it's
can
basically
be,
what the increase is paying for is a loan payment. And when the loan payment goes away,
right, when the bond is paid off, that $10
then
goes
that
away.
$10 goes away.
And that bond can be paid off early through multiple sources, and we've tried to establish getting those things paid off sooner rather than later. So options that are available are specifically the 1% on the resort tax, which is for stormwater and related projects. So there are things that grants are available for, that they won't come in and do the under-the-ground stuff that we see, but they will help for curb and streets, which is not something that happens very often. But this year, we are pursuing one that will come in and do curb, gutter, and the additional parts, but in order to do that, you have to have the stormwater done. So part of the trying to save the money of just doing it up front is to position ourselves to take advantage of the additional money that is not normally out there, that is out there this year. So we're hoping to put this much in and get this much out.
So if you do curb and gutter, are the property owners gonna be paying for that?
No, we would be doing that with the 1% that's already being collected with the resort tax. We also have the option every year, and this will be coming up in our budget discussions. One of the things we learned a few years ago when I was on council is that if you don't budget for resort tax, you don't get to use it. And you may recall a few years ago where we kind of divvied it up and everybody got a little bit back in property taxes. There was a lot of hassle on staff, and that was about the same time we were reviewing the resort tax. And the public feedback at that time is that money is supposed to go to paying for these other things. So one of the things you'll see in the resort tax budget this year and in future years is you'll see a really large number, $500,000, $800,000, to pay off capital projects early. And so what happens is if we have a really great resort tax year, then we can take that money and pay those things off. So the goal and the intent is very much that we will not take the full 20 years to pay it off. That we're doing it now because it's a good price. It gives us the ability to get more dollars out of it because of some grants that are on the horizon. And so that was part of what we factored in. Does that help a little bit?
And the grant that he's talking about, it's on the horizon, it's an ETA grant.
EDA.
And it's substantial, it's 3.7 million. We have to put in 800,000.
717,000.
And we have most of that budget. So that would be a big windfall, and that would be curb, gutter, and pavement, mostly in phase one of what was done last year. And we're hoping to hear on that. They keep saying in the next couple of weeks.
One of the other studies that kind of came up, there was I would look to Mike to tell us which specific town, but we had another town that did they did phase one, phase two, phase three, and by the time they got to phase three, it cost more than all three phases would have cost up front.
Beginning to do it all at once, people decided they didn't want to do that, they wanted to phase it out. It was Lockwood, it took a long time, like 15 years. But, yeah, the third phase cost more than if they would have done it all in the beginning, just because of the rising costs. And they're real. They really are.
How long does this last? I mean, how many years do you get most then?
The phase right now.
Like three, well, I
The
meant
phase
one, two, and
Phase 2 and 3 should be done by the end of this construction season. There's a chance some of the paving or concrete work might be too late in seasons. They might come back and spring into it, but 2 and 3 done by this.
So, yeah, having stormwater just knocked off would be a big win, I think.
Yeah, I mean, right now, when we get an afternoon thunderstorm, or when the snow melted the other day, we have to have people down at the sewer treatment plant manually bypassing flows so it doesn't flood the place, and manually raking debris out. And it'd be huge to get those stormwater flows out. And we're not gonna get them all out, you never do, but we can get, because we have so much, we can make a big difference.
We could make it not be 75% of what we're treating.
So
Yeah.
where will stormwater be released? Where?
It all goes down by the recycling center, where they put in that main trunk last year, and it goes into the ditch there that runs down the road with no name.
Yeah, north of the recycling center and the Yellowstone Wildlife Sanctuary, there's kind of a big bowl out there.
And it kind of goes through a wetland and then eventually.
in the rock creek.
So it does go through some kind of like a drainage area?
Yeah, I mean, I guess you call it a natural settlement area.
But hopefully, I mean, it's all rainwater and runoff, it's not, it doesn't need to be.
75%, that 75% of the stormwater is going to our treatment plant?
Is going in, so we pick up the advantage that it's really clean as far as sewer goes, but if you mix 25 gallons of sewer with 75 gallons of water, you have
100 gallons.
100 gallons of sewer, and so that's what we're doing right now, and with the flood a couple years ago, it was really problematic. The other day, I don't know if you saw, we had a sewer, and there's another sewer project that is not coming out as an additional fees, that's part of what we're building for, but we had a sewer line collapse down in the southeast corner of town last week or the week before. And it was interesting, as we got in there, I took a picture, I should have taken video, because once they got open, the water going through that sewer was clear as could be.
That's different than stormwater.
I'm sorry,
That's
but,
groundwater.
but it was stuff that was going into our sewer, and so there will always be some, but, and when we're looking for and have asked for kind of some measures, like how much will we see it decrease? But the expectation is by the end of the year, we'll see that, and we'll be tracking that, so we can come back and say this, we're now treating less.
So right now, if you just look at, you know, the total monthly flow that goes through our meters, which should be our sewage, right?
Sure.
Especially in the winter, but we are, that's 25% of what we see down there. So 75% either the stormwater, which is significant, everybody can see that when it runs down the street and goes down the drain.
Sure.
And then the groundwater infiltration into the sewer pipes, and we're addressing that as well.
So just to restate, for those who may not have heard online, so one of the numbers we're using as a base number is looking at water usage versus sewer in the winter, and then kind of using that as a baseline and comparing that through the rainy seasons. And the increase is what's going in there from not you turning on your taps and flushing.
Any more questions?
One from the audience.
Yeah, and I I totally understand, I see the mechanics of it and the math of it, and I agree with you on it. Once again, I think my concern, and a lot of people that I know in Red Lodge that are property owners, is the amount of increase that we're gonna have to pay to do this. It's right here, 307%.
And went from
And
That is
340 to.
I think we can address that when we bring it back up to the table, but remember, our starting number is $3 and something, so percentage-wise,
$3.39.
so you go from 4 to 14 is where those numbers
Yeah,
look so
and then
shocking.
The increase, this is per month, per lot, and I think times 3, for me, to $13.79. Man, that's a big deal.
$30
For small.
for your 3 lots,
Yeah.
$360 a year.
Increase,
Yeah,
increase, not what I'm paying, that's an increase.
That's an increase.
I have
So-
$165.48 per year per lot.
So
Yeah,
let's
your
let's
increase.
keep the conversation in the public now, and then I'll return it back to the table in a moment, so just to help keep our meeting in.
Well, if you do.
All right.
79 times
Did any questions from the table for Mike while he is up?
$10 more a month.
12, $124.
I do have one.
Councilmember Tupin? Go
Is
ahead.
there any potential that now that we might see a decrease of usage of our sewer treatment plant, that we might also be able to see a decrease in our impact fees for new construction?
I have no idea.
That,
guess
that would
that
have
would
to be
be part
addressed
of
in
our
the council. as far as
upcoming
changes.
impact.
Sure, but we're already talking about addressing impact fees here in the future, so that might be something that's worth a consideration.
I think that would get addressed in the impact fee study that'll be done as soon as the capital improvement plan is complete.
Certainly, that's a potential data point that,
Optimistic.
Do you know how long this project has been on the books in the capital improvements plan?
I don't,
I didn't thought you would, but I thought
yeah.
maybe
I
somebody,
don't have no history here.
the CIP I'm,
It's been a while.
it's,
It's been basically since DEQ started coming out and telling us we were gonna do it.
Pre-flood.
And,
10 years.
and one of our concerns is, I mean, like I said, is to get it addressed before we get fined and or before we have sewer issues that come from it. This is filling the cavity tomorrow rather than waiting until it turns into a root canal. Sorry for the analogy, I went to the dentist this week, so it's on my mind.
Again.
This is filling a cavity now rather than waiting until it gets worse and then solving it.
I guess with the $10, you know, if we phase that out over the next 5 years, that's gonna be,
30.
yeah, $16,
Yeah,
$20.
that was my one other question.
And that's
This is not a
the real
permanent
reality.
No,
Correct.
Not permanent, but, and for how many years are we at 16 now? By
20 max.
20 max.
So the note is a 20-year note. Lonnie is nodding that my memory is correct. So it's a 20-year note, and I am certainly optimistic that we will pay it off sooner than that.
What are our yearly payments on it?
Lonnie, do you know those numbers off the top of your head? It's in the bond, I think, that's posted on there.
Yeah, I was reading through that this morning.
Yeah.
So there's a process where they make an estimate, then it goes out to bond council, and the numbers came back actually matching exactly what the estimate was. Any other questions for Mike from the table? All right, thank you, Mike. Don't go away yet. Let's bring conversation, back to the table regarding, 3653. Councilmember Daniels, let's start with you. Any thoughts, questions, input?
Lots of thoughts, but, I feel for our constituents. I too own more than one property, and it's a big pill to swallow. But in the event that we postpone, the way everything else is rising in prices, it's like, do it now, because we have the deal. Yeah, fill the cavity.
Thank you. Councilmember Conley?
Yeah, I agree. Nobody likes to see taxes go up at all, but better now than twice as much in the future. I mean, we already saw the issue with the flood. You know, we've had other issues down there. And building a new pond just to handle stormwater doesn't make any sense.
I would like to add, as is my prerogative to do, is just that what we're talking about, just for record's sake, is a fee, not taxes. It all comes out of your wallet the same. It comes out of my wallet the same. But I do want to just clarify that what we're talking about is fees, just for clarification purposes. Councilmember Ronning, I know you had some comments last time and kind of the insurance stuff.
Well, it's more that, with the flood and when we have a tremendous amount of water coming down or coming through our stormwater system all at once, because we don't have a stormwater system and it's going into our sewer, we have, especially on Platte, have had issues where, flooding has happened in people's homes because it's backing up, all of that stormwater is backing up through their toilets in their basement. When we had the horrific hailstorm in 2011, there was one on the 300 block of South Platte, a basement apartment, and they opened the door and hail just came out of the basement. It was, the whole basement apartment was filled with hail that had come up through the toilet. And then with the flood, most of the flooding that happened on South Platte, including my parents' house, because they had no water in the front of their house, they had no water in the back of their house, it was all storm water or flood water that came up through their basement, toilet and showers and flooded their whole basement, whereas, they have living quarters. So it isn't if we're going to have sewer problems down the road. Like, we are already having sewer problems. And with Mother Nature and climate change the way that it's happening, there's nothing to say that this summer we won't have another hour-long hailstorm and have, hailstorms create the most amount of water in a short amount of time during the summer. I mean, that is huge, and we had flooding downtown, but, that was just, it couldn't keep up with the amount of water that was going there. And this may not alleviate 100% of that, but I think that it will help a lot. So, I know $120 extra a year seems like a lot, but when you are hauling out of the back door of your parents' house their whole life, I'm looking at it that way. If we can stop that from happening to people, our constituents, it means a lot. And a lot of those basement apartments were not rebuilt, that were damaged from the flood. So that impacts our workforce housing and our affordable housing when people never were able to move back in. So I would like to see, though, as much of our resort tax as possible used to pay this down as quickly as possible, because I own a home. I'm gonna have to pay my taxes on May 31st, and it's not pleasant, it's not fun. So I would like to know what that bond payment is going to be, and then work on something where we put so much money just budgeted in there, whether it's $100,000 a year, pay this down out of resort tax, depending on what that budget is. I think it's a well use of our resort tax. So.
Thank you. Senator.
Wow.
Congratulations. Councilmember Tupin.
I do not want that.
I guess I'm president.
It works out.
You're not quite old enough.
So I would kind of like to echo what Jody said on that. I do feel that it's a public health and safety concern at this point. Also, I too do not like to see fees increase for a variety of reasons, not just the fact that I have to pay them, but also my concerns of people that do have fixed incomes, what impacts that will have on our workforce housing and on people that are working within our community. But at the end of the day, again, there's an expense that comes from having working infrastructure, and from someone who has had a non-working sewer line for 3 months, and I recognize that the benefit of having that, if I don't want to ever see anything backing back up into my house or into the street ever again. And so to me, that's one of the big reasons, because I was very hesitant to even consider moving forward with this. But when you really look at the costs and you look at the benefits, the other big piece I think that is really important to recognize is that benefit of getting the sewer project done, or the stormwater project done, so now we can finish our curbs, our streets, get them repaved. Because again, right now we're just mending it, filling potholes. Like, if we could actually start to put in the good work and make our streets look beautiful and functional, and really make it to where it's a little bit more attractive for everybody, and again, more user-friendly for everybody, having true sidewalks, all of those pieces, I think that also resolves a lot of issues that we've been looking at. And with that EPA grant, Great West did make a presentation. It's like, these grants for curb and gutter do not happen. So the fact that we can get over $3 million to be working on our streets, I am extremely optimistic about that, because otherwise that would be a special improvement district, something that would happen to the locals and the neighbors regardless. So I'd rather see, again, taking this 20-year approach and trying to pay it off as much as possible with resort tax, because we can actually utilize resort tax for that, and we have it designated for that, and then also minimizing long-term costs for everybody. So again, I'm not looking forward to paying the bill either. I'm really not, but I am looking forward to seeing what improvements can come even further after that. So, and I would like to see the bonds, and yeah, I think it's in here.
I was gonna say, do we have that payment factored into Public Works yet here, or is it we have to pass it and delegate it before we add it in here?
I see a schedule.
If you go to 3654, is it in 3654?
I've been kind of looking, but oh my gosh.
The payments on it? All right. In the meantime, while we're waiting for that, President Miller, did you have anything you wanted to add?
I think this is a
very well warranted project. I think it's overdue. I appreciate Jody's comments and experiences of people that have suffered severe financial losses because of this. And we are still vulnerable to this again. So yes, $10 a month is a big number. I'm not taking it lightly. I'm not like the wealthy people here. I don't have 3 and 4 lots. I just have one. And I don't like to see anything increase. But then again, I look at people that get financially destroyed through no fault of their own. This is a good project, a good price, and the more that we can use of the resort tax money, the better. So that's where we're headed.
With that, in keeping official, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna open specifically a public hearing on the stormwater charge by establishing a capital improvement charge, adding the capital improvement. So, we are officially open. Please feel free to step up and speak again, or, particularly if there's new thoughts that have come up through that, please feel free to do so at this time. Going to the room first. Going once, twice, turning to online to see if we have anybody online who'd like to weigh in on the conversation. Again, if you'd start by turning on your camera. Not seeing any cameras come on. I was looking for mute buttons going off. Seeing none, that's the second time, and 3 times. And we'll close the public hearing. Thank you all. All right, any final discussion at the table before we move forward with action on this? All right, hearing none, can I get a roll call vote, please?
Conley?
Yes.
Daniels?
Yes.
Miller?
Yes.
Browning? Yes. Tupin?
Yes.
The motion passes. All right, I will entertain a motion for resolution 3654.
I move to approve Resolution 3654, resolution relating to stormwater system revenue bond, DNRC Water Pollution Control State Revolving Loan Fund Program, Series 2024, authorizing the issuance and fixing the terms and conditions thereof.
All right, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All right, I have a motion by Councilmember Conley, a second by Councilmember Daniels. This is authorizing the loan mechanism, and our terms of that. Any discussion at the table?
I assume that our city attorney has approved it.
Did we, I don't know that we ran this through them, but the firm that we hired, that's what we hired them for, is legal. So it's been through legal, it's just been outsourced legal versus in-house legal. Did I understand the question properly?
Yeah, because I'm not a legal person, so, yeah, this is a lot of pages.
It is thick. It's, yeah. And then once it's approved, you get a big old.
Even more?
Well,
And-
we will have that before budget is complete, is that
Yeah,
correct?
so we-
Okay.
Once we approve this, then we factor it into the budget, and so it'll be added to the budget
Yeah, I'll
sheet.
get a schedule.
I had looked through that and I might have missed it because I kind of skimmed it, but I just couldn't find what the bond payment, estimated bond payment
Yeah, I
would be.
can't find it.
And I don't think we will get that
Anyway.
until we close.
Okay,
Until we-
but we set the estimated fee.
Right,
Do
on
we-
the amount, which is.
Right.
somewhere.
Right, but was that kind of based on what our annual payment would be? Do we have an estimate of what that would?
what I'm thinking is that was in the paperwork from last time, and I just don't have that. 3.8 is the committed amount.
Yeah, and then they figure in the rates based on the total amount that we're doing on the loan. And then they factor in coverage, so like 100 and, I think we're at 112% coverage.
And it's hard when it's a PDF because it's not searchable.
And it's 2.5% per annum. So
Yeah.
that's the debt service. Does that help?
Only if I have an amortization calculator in front of me. I know they have that information to us.
Okay.
So basically, this is a motion authorizing me to go ahead and sign those debt papers and establish that loan. Any other questions, comments from the table?
Oh, 'cause
I saw a number, then my thumb went
Payment
by.
escrow.
Because I really would like, it's above that, I really would like to be able to answer that, provide that information real time. If not, what we can do is certainly follow up with that information and get it out there to the papers. I thought I had it, and then I clicked my thumb an extra time.
Yeah, I just would like to know how much more we would pay to get it down to basically a 10-year.
Yeah.
instead of a
So,
20-year,
so,
or a-
So,
yeah, I wouldn't do that, because that would, so by
No,
paying it off early,
Mhm.
you finance it for the longest period available, and then, because that keeps your payments minimal, and then you
Right,
pay it off
Right,
sooner.
but
Right, that's
say
what I
like
said.
what, for us
If we-
to cut it in half, what we could provide with resort tax to, I think that's, is that what you're saying,
Yes,
Jody?
yes.
So once we close on this, then the Schedule B that's in here,
That's empty?
yeah, that's empty, that will be all filled out, that's in it.
Okay.
It's
Mhm.
based on the amount that refinanced, plus it's factored in with
Okay.
the rates and stuff, because that's how we got the rates.
To start with.
Yes.
That's where they got the $10,
Constructive.
79 cents or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Losing your audience.
That's okay. Thank you.
I'm just apologize, I don't have that number right off the top here.
That's okay.
Because I know when I was on council, I was like, what's the number?
Yeah,
But
and
but I looked it up.
Yeah, and if we could also get, they could do an amortization schedule based on like, how much would we have to pay
Right.
extra per year to pay it off in 10 years?
So,
Yeah.
To get
well,
that.
well, I can tell you that right now, it'll be exactly the double whatever the principal is.
That's,
You could, if you
not-
don't, if you pay double the principal, it'll cut it in half.
but it doesn't work that
Oh,
way.
absolutely works that way. Not the interest, I didn't say double the payment, I said
Okay,
double the
okay.
principal, which changes per year.
But you're,
Yeah.
Yeah, it,
so if you
Like
lower
a
your
mortgage.
principal, you'll lower your, like,
Interest.
interest over the life of the loan.
That's why I said double the principal payment, we'll have that conversation later. No, no, we
And once
won't.
I get the,
With a
once we get the
finance
numbers,
major.
we get the numbers.
Okay.
so once we
Okay.
get that amortization
And-
schedule, then we can budget in
Mm-hmm.
X amount for,
And just for
The extra
clarity, as we
payoff.
pay it off early, it won't reduce that amount until it's paid off.
Yep.
We will be paying the full payment
Up until
until it's paid off, and then we won't have any more payments on it.
I did see in here that you could only pay it off in $1,000 increments.
But what I'm saying is, like, if we pay off half of it a year from now, the payment won't go down from this amount. It
No,
just
the payment will
brings
stay the
the
same.
close date.
Right,
course.
it doesn't, you're not
Yeah.
prepaying it,
like
is what you're saying.
We're prepaying
House,
principal, but it doesn't decrease
That's what,
based on
but
it.
you're not
They're saying
prepaying
the
your
same
full
thing.
payment.
It's kind of
Yeah.
funny
You'll
to
still
listen
have a
to, isn't
payment.
it?
You
Yep.
can't,
They are
you can't pay
arguing-
half of it and then wait another 10 years to start paying it again.
I'm tracking what you're saying.
Okay, yeah.
They're arguing the exact same side.
Comments?
Oh, good.
All right, so I will make a note that we will need to make sure we get some follow-up, info available for public.
They also have that interest rate for your as well.
I think
I
that's
think
in
it's
there.
2.5 is what it said in there.
2.5.
I'm reading 10%.
Yeah, 2.5.
Yeah,
Like,
I
guess we
read
could run around
2.5.
that.
an expense surcharge and loan loss reserve surcharge and calculate on these 60 days. Your pricing. 30 days. Okay.
My financial calculator app.
I was like, these are the
I don't have it.
crazy old
I'm not gonna do it.
conversations. Good job.
If I had a crystal ball, I would know all these answers
It
in
wouldn't
advance
matter.
specifically and have them written down. I apologize.
It'll be what it is.
Additional comments or questions from the table? Hearing none, can we do a roll call vote on that?
Molly,
Yes.
Daniel,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
Ronnie,
Yes.
Tupin.
Yes.
All right, motion passes, and a note is made that we need to finalize and get those additional details just because we should have them readily available and easily presentable to the public.
Thanks for you to do.
Oh.
All right, I will entertain a motion for resolution 3632, fourth amended.
I move to, what am I moving for?
Approving.
Approving resolution number 3632,
Fourth Amendment, a resolution of the City Council to conditionally delay the disposition of all airport assets.
I'll second.
All right, I have a motion by Councilmember Daniels, a second by Councilmember Ronning. I will provide a brief update at this point in time. So, Councilmember Ronning and I, sat down with 3 different versions. The version that the council had approved, and presented to the county, a version that the county has approved and submitted to the city, and a version that was prepared, by our city attorney, which had a summary. What we found is that there was several discrepancies in there. However, between those 3 documents, we were able to identify the points. The reason for this, I should add that I think this is a safety measure. I feel the existing agreement, which is in place, says that the airport board will continue working until such time as this is all done, which means even in the absence of this, I think it would work, but the council felt more comfortable having extended this. I am looking to have, those final changes updated and read through an attorney who has not been involved in the process right now. The second thing that we did is that, I met with Commissioner Bullock with the FAA, last week, and with the contractor who is doing the master plan, to basically make sure that what we had was in line, with them as well as to set up the meetings of start what we need to do for those public meetings on the master plan and get those out there. So that's kind of all happening simultaneously. The purpose of this is just to keep that umbrella in place, for another 30 days, which gets us through the end of this month, which we anticipate we can get that. If I knew for sure who that attorney was going to be, I'd have had an action for council to basically authorize me to use that. If council is comfortable when we're doing this, basically making a motion that's not a resolution, just to say they're authorizing that expenditure, that allows me to move forward more quickly with it. Otherwise, I anticipate that'll be on the agenda next time.
An expenditure for what?
Outside council to review the new and improved and finalized document.
Is this outside council gonna be approved by the airport board and the county and?
It will be approved by me. Those others will be input, but it'll basically be a selection by me. So at this point, the motion on the table is the resolution to extend, and we just changed that from May 31st to June 30th.
Is that enough time?
I am certainly open if you guys want to avoid the possibility of doing this by extending that. I did not feel comfortable presenting more than 30 days to council, but it's certainly within council's purview to modify the resolution with an amendment.
Well, we're gonna have to bring it, you're gonna have to have an attorney review it. You're gonna have to get the county to sign off on it, Bridger to sign off on it, and us to sign off on it
Within those 30 days.
within 30 days.
I will happily entertain a motion by council to
I
modify the
move
date.
to modify the date to August 31st.
I would second that, because this is crazy to keep doing it 1 month at a time.
There is a motion by Councilmember Ronning and second by Councilmember Conley to amend, to August 31st. Any discussion at the table?
I think, give you some time.
All right, we'll do a roll call on the amendment to amend from June 30th to August 31st.
Conley,
Yes.
Daniels,
Yeah.
Miller,
Yes.
Ronnie,
Yes,
Tupin.
Yes.
The motion on the amendment passes back to the original motion.
and hopefully we will have it within
Long
60
before.
days. but,
Yeah.
You know, I
Yes,
just don't, I don't
I'm
wanna-
I'm certainly working for more quickly, and the commissioners are as well.
Okay.
That gives everybody time to do it right.
Then now said at the rodeo.
Further I hope it's sooner than that.
Yeah.
Any further discussion on the original motion? Hearing none, let's do a roll call vote.
Conley,
Yes.
Daniels.
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
Ronnie,
Yes,
Tupin.
Yes.
Motion passes. Would council like to make a motion to approve, an outside expense of an outside attorney? Would they wait until I have that final would they prefer to wait until I have that final selection? Okay, there's a motion on the table to authorize the mayor to enter outside services.
I'll second.
Okay, motion from Councilmember Conley, second by motion from Councilmember Ronning, second by Councilmember Daniels.
Really good with it.
Any comments at the table?
I guess I would just like to hear, the reasoning behind getting outside counsel. Is it just to get a third party who has, an unbiased third party who hasn't been involved in this for 2 years? To review it?
It is twofold, to get an outside attorney that has not been biased from 2 years, and I also believe that it will be beneficial in working with the commissioners on closing it. There have been some challenges that I think have been personalities-based, and I wish to eliminate that possibility.
Noted.
The only direction I think I would have is don't get too buck wild with price.
Yeah.
So noted. All right, any other conversation from the table? All right, can you give anything else I need to do to keep us official,
Roll call.
other than the roll call vote? Okay, we'll go ahead and do a roll call vote.
Okay, Conley,
Yes.
Daniel,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
Rooney,
Yes.
Stephen.
And again, that's something that normally I could do, but I just feel better with direction from council to do that. All right, with that, we will move to council business. So let's go public health and safety first. Council Member Conley, would you like to provide an update?
Yeah, we did review the law enforcement budget, discussed grants for a school resource officer, and perhaps getting grants for training, vehicle equipment, all of those could be grants. We noted that if we could come up with $20,000 in the budget for a grant writer, generally, that would net us $100,000 in grants. So, there was some discussion on people that we know that might be able to, do a grant writing for us for free, is what I was hoping for.
Oh.
Yeah. We briefly discussed the addressing, that there would be no change in the street numbers, just a change in the street signs and the,
In the house numbers, you mean?
yeah, well, oh yeah, did I say street numbers? Yeah, no, the house numbers or the business owners. We did, point out that it is really a hardship for businesses, to have to change all their stationery and contact 200 or 300 vendors who are having trouble finding them already to change it. So we were going to suggest that we start the change, give them a year notice, so they can start giving notice to their, to the people that are supposed to deliver. We did note that, you know, all the street signs now are non-compliant anyway, that needed to be changed. We have the money in the budget, and it sounds like we've budgeted $40,000, and it's gonna cost us a lot less than that to do it. So the 1 year notice would be nice. And again, this is really, being promoted by fire, EMS, police, and just our general public when you're trying to get something delivered. So Google would be changed once the GIS was changed, so that's really a huge plus for the addressing. That was it. Those were the bulk of our discussion.
Any questions from council that was not present at that meeting that you'd like to dig into?
I like how you look at me.
I
Throw a rock
do,
in a pack of
I do.
chickens, and the one that gets hit will squawk every time.
I do have a question on that. Was any fire safety involved in the meeting this morning? I didn't see anything.
No, not this morning.
They were
But
not,
in
but
previous
John has,
Yeah,
John Trapp has volunteered and requested that as we get this back on the agenda, he would like to come and speak as to the whys.
okay, yeah, no, I think that would be, because I've heard mixed reviews from different health and safety, yeah. officers or people involved, and some of them say that, you know, when this was initially brought up so many years ago, it was a big deal, but now with the technology where it's at, it is less of a concern. I have zero concerns about general public in terms of finding addresses and locations, because generally, from someone who directs people to all sorts of addresses all the time, I've not had too many issues with people finding anywhere in town,
Including using navigation?
including using navigation, specifically when they use navigation. So, to me, I think tech tools are out there. I do have concerns about the addressing in terms of what it might do. It could either, A, be a big solution for our delivery issues, or B, become even more problematic for our delivery issues. I like the idea of putting it off a year, and then before even presenting it to the public that this is going to be happening in 1 year, having a full game plan of what that actually looks like and public hearing.
And I think that the concept was to let them know now that in 1 year, we would be changing their addresses or their street names. There was a discussion about having the current street sign and the new street sign both up. And I thought that was even a worse idea.
Where did they talk about that?
They talked,
It's been part of the conversation, so like, is First South or 100 South, but do you leave 12th up for a year?
Don't do
I
that.
remember hearing that, and
Oh,
I,
no.
That was kind of how it was, that's how
Yeah.
kind of, exactly what that conversation sounded like. So
yeah, it was,
ultimately,
it was a very
this will
short,
be, ultimately, this will be council's decision. My job is merely to execute it to the very best of our abilities if council decides they want to move forward with it. And staff, I do like the idea, based on the initial conversation of public surveys and whatnot. What I would like is, I would like to ask council to make a decision sooner rather than later, and to your request, specifically have, the safety elements come in, and talk about why they think it's beneficial. And then, I don't know that we necessarily need to have the whole plan is next Tuesday, or a year from Tuesday, we will. But if that decision is made, then we certainly need to utilize that year to make it as pain-free as possible.
and
Or
I
more
did
pain.
kind of do a quick survey or look at, it seems that there's only 3 businesses that would be affected.
I can
Flying
think
S
of 3.
Title, Babcock and Miles, and Junction 7.
Napa's on the street,
Yep,
um,
Salade's on the street.
yeah, there's
There's some at that end of town,
Chicken
Yeah.
chassis.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But I think, and I
Becky
talked to the
Kudisma.
gals at Junction 7 today, and they hadn't heard anything about this, and they said having a year notice would be wonderful. And considering they're a UPS drop-off point and pickup point, it would, and post office, so it would really affect them, so we need to make sure that everybody knows.
And my feeling is that I do agree with Chelsea. I mean, if this has become kind of a non-issue with our technology the way that it is, I'd rather not upset the apple
Don't poke
cart.
the bear.
I know.
No reason to do it.
So,
And then we can utilize those funds for still replacing a lot of those signs and taking care of those pieces, and
so,
Yeah, but we did hear from, Public Health and Safety from the beginning about how the police have to specially train their officers because our streets are so weird, and the same with, we heard the same thing from Tom Coons. That, they have to always spend a lot of time trying to train their people that this is not a normal type of grid system.
Let me ask a question of council. When we started this conversation, we started it in Public Works because that was gonna be where a lot of the work is. Do we, as far as these discussions and presentations, do we need to move this to Public Health and Safety and have them come present
I
their
would
logic behind
rather,
it?
honestly, I'd rather have them present to the full council.
Yes.
Okay?
I think that makes more sense.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I think we're to that point.
We have heard it.
I mean, Mike did all that legwork, and, Public Works is just waiting for the why, or do we,
Or
is there
when.
really,
Is there even a reason?
is there a why we should move forward?
Who who should we look to form, are there specific questions we want them to speak to, or do we want them to just put together their best presentation and handle questions on the fly?
Why?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that would probably be the best, and just really providing like a scale of 1 to 10 of how important this is.
And at the soonest available meeting to make it work?
Sure.
Next available meeting?
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
That'd be great.
I will take that action.
Because I don't want to start it all over again.
No,
We
nor
need
nor
to-
do I.
We need to do something
Okay,
one way or
full
another.
council.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, thank you. Admin and finance. So this takes us into budget.
Yes, budget. So, as you know, that's all we talked about, so we'll let you take it away.
Okay, so what was included with council? So there are a couple of givens when it comes to our budget. And I can just kind of give a high level. I'm still fighting with Excel to be able to tell the budget story of a government budget that makes sense to all of us who run personal household budgets or business budgets. And I think some charts and graphs are gonna help that, and I'm still on the losing battle of that. I apologize. We did get an initial budget out. The department heads were supplied 3 budgets. I think I mentioned that at the beginning of the meeting, so I will not repeat that here. What we did start through today is, went through on a line-by-line basis, and the admin committee, raised some specific questions. I heard some of those same questions get raised, in the last meeting, because it was talking about the resort tax and the additional funds there. The plan is I have a list of all of the dates. I did not get them assigned specifically out to groups, but we will have each department head come and present their budget. You will know who that is going to be in 2 weeks' time, so that you can go through specifically that budget, and we'll look at that and say, so for instance, if Mike's here, so I'll pick on him. We'll have him come to speak to his budgets, and he and I talked about whether we wanted to do separate water, sewer, trash. He said he thought he could get them all in one day. I will defer to council's, preference on that. But what it'll do is say, here's where the money is coming from.
Perfect.
It is coming from general, it is coming from, Lonnie, the word I'm trying to think of right now is enterprise funds. Enterprise funds or resort tax, and so it'll say where that is, and you guys will basically have the ability to drill in and look at just a specific page or a specific section, and preferably, ask your questions in advance so that they can be specifically asked, and just have our department heads come and basically, I hate to use the word because of the context of it, but I think it's the most accurate, come and defend their budget and talk about where that is. Right now, like I said, with the salary stuff that we've given them, we know that we are over budget. The 2 givens are, we will have a balanced budget and our cash reserves will not go down. So if you go online to the budget page and look at that, you can see what our cash reserves are, in each of the individual funds. So for instance, our general fund, last year was $493,256. That number will not go down. It can go up. As far as planning our budget, we're basically starting with last year's numbers, because we know that property taxes are not gonna go down. And this is a non-levy year, so things won't be adjusting a whole lot. We know actually that we go up at 1/2 of the cost of living over the last 3 years. So that's how much our budget gets to go up. So we kind of have those numbers to work with for rough. And Lonnie will be able to give us some more precise numbers, in July, which is after the current fiscal year is closed. Rather than going through line by line at this point, know that you have it, available in front of you. If there are any specific questions, please feel free, to shoot those off to me. And I will relay them on to the department heads, but we'll also hand it off in bite-sized chunks between now and next time. And again, we just hand out the schedule, and we have to shuffle it and rearrange it. But give department heads a couple weeks to prepare, and you a couple of weeks to come up with questions on a department-by-department basis. Was there anything else that you wanted me to address from that, or did that?
We're good, Chelsea? Do you have
Yeah, the only other thing is we are gonna be getting some other supplemental documents, just showing a breakdown of the different salaries of where those come from as well, so that way you can get a big picture idea of what people are making and,
what we're spending on salaries
Yeah.
for different
so whenever
departments.
there's any sort of line item that's split between multiple items, being able to know what that total amount is, as well, so.
And it's worth mentioning that we're also working on doing salary comparisons with some other municipalities, just for awareness. That plays a double role, as we are in contract negotiations with, for salaries with actually both of our unions. We have the police department and then everybody else who's union, but not in police department. So those are both open for salary this year.
And just so you know, the police department's budget for their salaries is entirely out of the general fund, as is the city attorney and the judge. So the other, employees, a lot of times are split between departments depending on what their job duties entail.
Yeah, and there's a very specific effort to make sure that anything that is not coming out of general fund can be easily justified and pointed out to why it's coming out of enterprise fund X or Y.
Or besides
Tax.
Any other questions or comments on the budget?
Great work.
Okay, we're getting there. This is top of list for the next 3 months until it's done.
Oh, yeah.
And then Chelsea was gonna chat a little bit about the TDED budget, which we will be up for.
Action next meeting. So I just wanted to give you guys an introduction to it. If you're not familiar with what TBID is, the Tourism Business Improvement District, I am on the board of that as well. And what it does is, hotels and short-term rentals, any, management companies within Red Lodge city limits, they provide $2 per night, in addition, or they charge $2 per night, and it goes into a fund. And that fund is specifically to help with destination marketing, economic growth, events, sponsorships. Essentially, the motto is heads in beds. So just utilizing those funds, bringing people into the area, and helping promote small events that are coming up and moving forward, and giving them some extra support from our area. So we did put together a preliminary budget. It is a draft. It was in the packet. We will have a finalized budget up for action next time, but if you just have any questions on those, feel free to reach out.
And just for clarity, this is a self-imposed
Yep, it's
tax
voluntary. Yep.
for lack of a better way to do it,
Mhm.
but it does require city council's,
Mhm.
approval of their budget.
Yep.
So,
And we've done this year after year, and, they do really good things, I think, so.
And I think that was it on admin and finance. Unless you wanna add anything?
No.
no, I think we're good. Land use and planning, I was not able to sit in on that meeting today, so, Councilmember Conley.
Yeah. We talked about the RV park at Alpine Lodge in particular, because an RV park has to go through subdivision rules because they're considered a subdivision. And apparently they have been approved by the state as an RV park. They were approved conditionally by the planning board for the 6 spots there, although the discussion at those planning board meetings was that those spots were for their employee housing, and so that carried quite a bit of weight with us on the planning board. But a lot of you don't know, but you might, that the Alpine Lodge is for sale. And so even though the current owners are really good owners and they take care of it and all of that, we have to think about the abuses that could be rained down on us. It would be lovely if those 6 spaces could be used as workforce housing, where you have people come in June to supply our workforce. And a lot of them may have RVs and they could park there, and unfortunately, our our ordinance 911 amended says that you can only stay 14 consecutive nights in a commercially zoned, RV park, or any kind of thing, commercially zoned. It didn't actually call out the zoning, so the way it's currently written is an issue, because it says commercially zoned, and we need to be more specific, because we don't want them downtown, in our historic district. So we kind of combined, 911 amended with this whole thing, so we were talking about amending the amended 911 to exclude the historic district. And we toyed around with, allowing RV to stay up to 4 months, and we don't know if this is legal or not, if that's only paid by the employers. So let's say that one of the employers in town wants to hire somebody to have an RV, they can't find a rental. The employer would pay for 4 months of their staying in the RV park. So we're concentrating on workforce. We don't know if that would be legal, and we would still limit it to 4 months type of thing, so.
If you can write up a summary, meaning if the committee can come up with a summary and get the wording that you would be like, and forward that on to me, I'd be happy to have council review it and advise as to the legality.
Yeah.
And if you guys came up with a solid enough idea that somebody could summarize that, I'd be happy to present that in front of them. I think it's valid that you are considering the unintended consequences, which is a good thing to take into, if you're trying to fix one particular, that sounds like a little bit of how we got where we were, is they were trying to fix one problem and inadvertently created a couple others, so.
Yeah, and we just have to be cautious. Just because it's working now doesn't mean it would work with new owners. And so we just need to realize that there could be abuses in our community entrance. It's commercially zoned of this. So, it's a sticky wicket. Even though any RV park would have to be, go through subdivision, vetting, both at the state and at, planning board.
Is that through DNRC or DEQ, like DEQ?
Yeah. And the other discussion that we had that we're kind of unsure of, but we think that the Alpine Lodge currently only has water to their RV sites, because the state said that there is a dump station within a certain range, so they weren't required to have sewer. So those 6 units do not have sewer, although there was some discussion that they thought they were sharing the sewer with the Alpine Lodge.
I don't know for sure. I know
Yeah,
they're sharing
there was
the
just
water.
so we're not sure, and I don't
Have
know
to
if
ask
Mike
them.
has a clue. Yeah, this is an old thing. I had gotten an answer on my email from the planning board president who said that they don't have sewer, but they do have water.
My memory is, and it was part of when it came before the planning board, that once upon a time they were tapping into it and then were told not to, or told to do differently or something, so that's a follow-up meeting we could have to get some.
When I went through the minutes of that meeting, because I was not there on that planning board decision while I was on the planning board, there was 2 votes against it and 4 votes for it. So to me, that's a close vote. It was almost a tie. And, different things with that whole thing, including shielding the RV park from the road using vegetation, which obviously was never done. But honestly, I don't have the record of decision, but that discussion did go on.
And I remember attending it as a member of the public, because it was after I was on planning board and council as well.
Yeah, so there
Well, the final decision on that was council, and I don't believe that was added to the council as a condition because of the size of the RV park. That if they had to put the vegetation there, there would have been no room, it wouldn't have, it wouldn't have
Well, we wanted,
shielded the view.
You're saying your recollection is that after it went to planning board, it did also come to council?
Oh, yeah, council had to approve it, and we were the ones who had the final say in what those
and I didn't pull
conditions
that,
were.
I should have pulled that too.
I think.
Yeah, because yeah, it was council that approved it. It had to go to
And
council.
I will work with, the public works director to come up with history, so we get some recommendation there. But like I said, as far as possible solutions, if you guys can have that as a deeper,
Well-
early, high on the agenda item.
Well, and I just want to say that this came about, and I don't really like to single out the Alpine. I mean, they are the only RV park in town, but there's nothing to say that we won't have future ones.
Mhm.
And so all I would like to see is revisiting the 14-day stay as a limitation. I don't, you know, the Alpine, they've been approved, they have conditions, it's up to, you know, the city to decide if they've been enforced or not. I don't want to really revisit that in this discussion because it's not really pertinent. What I'd like to do is say, if someone has a private commercial lot, whether, you know, do we want to eliminate the 14-day consecutive stay, that's all they can stay, in order for someone to put a camper or an RV for an employee or workforce housing. We don't have that requirement on residential lots. We only have it on commercial.
Mhm.
So, you know, to me, what's the difference? I mean, I understand not wanting, you know, people camping downtown, you know, if there's a vacant lot right in the middle of downtown type of thing. I get that. So to me, it's more about a zoning issue on where people should be allowed to camp or not camp. If we want to put some side rails on it and say that they can only, camp or, you know, actually live in a place that is a state certified RV park, that is actually, you know, an option. But there's nothing to say that we won't have another RV park in town down the road. It just has to be a conditional use and get approved and go through planning board and go through council.
Let me rephrase the question. Is there anything you would like me or staff to do at this point, or do you guys still working on your wording and working out how you would like to modify that ordinance, and then before we run it through legal?
I think
What is
that,
the next
I
step?
think that we need to continue looking at it, especially if we're going to address something about residential. You know, if we're going to address residential, or we could do camping where there's actually hookups.
I know that one of the things you said in your comment was private commercial. I was like,
Well,
well,
that's
that's
what-
not confusing at all.
No, I know, but that's how it is in the ordinance. That's exactly what it says.
Well, it says commercial zone, but,
Privately owned commercial zone.
Privately owned
Okay.
commercial zone.
I know, so I don't know where that wording came from or why it was put in there like that.
so my understanding is you guys are still taking this, I
Privately
need not
owned.
take additional action at this point.
I don't think so.
This is just soliciting the additional input of additional council and keeping them posted of where you are in the discussion and getting their ideas.
I'm not on land use and planning, I
Yeah.
just attended the meeting.
And if anybody does have, ideas for this, the concern that I had in eliminating the 14 days is people could move their RV onto a spot and leave it there year-round. And then we actually become a mobile home park. I mean, that's what it is, it's a mobile home,
Correct.
it's a mobile home park.
But we have regulations on those. I mean, if you have so many in a certain area,
But
it
again,
becomes a mobile home
the
park.
discussion became, you know, this turned to if it were actually a licensed RV park, and then there's a whole bunch of rules and regulations involved,
Mhm.
which then the 14 days would be null and void, it would be something completely different. Or do we just keep?
And we don't know why the 14 days was imposed.
You know.
Where's the 14 days, so,
Yeah,
yeah,
where did
we
that
are
come from?
definitely still looking into it and doing some more due diligence.
May I ask a follow-up question?
Mhm.
I know there was discussion amongst council members, about revisiting our parking, which is currently 5 days, but wondering if there was limitations, there were concerns about signs and banners and trucks and the rules and stuff. Did any conversation happen on that, or do you have any ideas or need?
We did not.
I don't
have
think
any
it's public health
discussion.
and safety.
Or
You're
land-
talking about
Land use and
land use
planning.
and planning.
Oh, land use and planning.
We didn't have a discussion on that.
No, we didn't discuss it, and I have heard, complaints about political signs on vehicles that were left parked.
We do need to be careful, because political does have a whole level of protections that are there,
Mhm.
but I know that I had heard specific, I can tell you that I received multiple calls a day, from all sides, from all directions, and I do know that there was conversation about if there's a conversation, whether it be regarding signs, I think it was a what constitutes a sign versus what doesn't constitute a sign was the root of the conversation.
And zoning is really clear on that, and the signs that we saw on the trailer exceeded the signage for political signs. Political signs and real estate signs were definitely called out for size.
But does that matter if they are on a vehicle that is mobile?
I believe that that's also covered in zoning, or it was at least discussed at length.
No, council voted it down.
Mhm.
We
That
didn't pass
part?
it. We didn't pass it. We voted it down.
Oh, I remember.
Was it the most recent one?
Yep.
There were several, because it was also about controlling signs inside windows, so.
Yep.
I
Oh, yeah,
just
that's
knew
right.
that I had heard that discussion, and I didn't know if that had come up, so.
It was labeled outdoor advertising, but then they went to the indoor advertising, yeah.
So it got voted down.
And that, yeah, so maybe planning board needs to look at true outdoor advertising.
Yeah, well, I don't want to start coming down on, somebody putting their business logo on the side of their vehicle and having them have to go and get that approved through the city.
ABC Construction.
Yeah, but see, those, all of those are gonna fall within the size limit on
Well,
both real
the way
estate
that was
and-
written, it was said that they were all signs and had to get city approval.
Mhm.
All.
Yeah, everything on any sign on a vehicle, on a trailer, if you put,
Billboard.
ABC Construction on the side of your work trailer and you're parked at a job site, that's a sign and you have to go get a sign permit.
I will review what the current zoning says, and we'll start with that.
Is land use and planning the appropriate place to have that conversation?
Signage is probably the only place that we have to address it.
Add that to our next.
Council
agenda.
President Ronnie, do you have thoughts?
No, that's fine. I mean, I realized that it was planning board that had taken it up before, but it was just, council was not comfortable passing it because it was very intrusive, I guess you would say, and it just opened up a whole new area of the city
Control.
and we were not comfortable with that. So please keep that in mind when you're doing this.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
I think that
Oh,
the
yeah.
comment of unintended consequences and intruding on people's rights, this is America. We have the right to be annoyed by all sorts of things.
I know.
Yeah.
we do.
I'll put it on the next agenda,
Yeah.
and then I will review the zoning, the current zoning, see where that is. And, let's see what that is.
I know Public Works opted to cancel their meeting today. Is there any updates that they want to share with the council?
Not specifically,
I don't think so.
again, working on impact fees, looking at Mike. Again, he's just cranking along, like, he's made it really easy, so, and then again, once we get CRTs in and we can actually do an evaluation of those impact fees, we'll have a lot more to move on.
All right. Anything else from council before we move on with the agenda? All right, correspondence, anything that anybody would like to add? All right, I'm gonna go ahead and open public comment for anything and everything. This is, public's, chance to address, the council and be heard on any issue, just to set expectations. It's your opportunity to be heard. It may not include a response. It may be something that warrants, note-taking and research before somebody gets back with you. And as traditional, we will start with anybody in the room. We'll open that up to anybody online. If you would like to indicate by turning on your camera or coming off mute. Going twice. Going 3 times. We will close the public comment. I will entertain a motion on item 11. Second?
Yeah, I'll second that.
Meeting adjourned, thank you
I don't
all.
think you need a second, you adjourned.
I don't think you do either.
No, you don't.
Dave, you want this window closed?
Pardon?
Want this closed?
Yes, thank you, sir.
That was nice.
Yay, thank you guys.
That really helps.
I
Thank
can't
you all
believe
for your
it's 7:00.
patience.